Wake up, because the government is coming for your data. This is probably going to be the most important 6 minutes and 40 seconds of your 2025. Not just your future data, your past data too. Everything you've bought, every website you've visited, every location you've been to, every financial transaction you've made, they want it. And they are changing the law so they can legally take it, use it, and share it without your permission. Now, I know what you're thinking. Who's this guy? What's he talking about? That sounds illegal. They can't just take my data. Ding, ding. It was illegal, so they are now changing the law to make it legal. And you can see it right here. It's called the Parliamentary Bills Data Use and Access Bill. It was last updated on the 13th of February 2025 at 1641. So far, it has gone through the entirety of the House of Lords. It is now in the committee stage in the House of Commons, and I'll bet you have not heard a single thing about this in mainstream media. Unless, of course, you follow me on TikTok and watch the video I did on this 4 months ago when it entered Parliament. No? Well, I suggest you pay attention now. And let's make this abundantly clear. This isn't some online safety policy or a vague data protection law. This is a 270-page government bill quietly running through Parliament while everyone is too distracted by tax rises, net zero policies, and the usual media circus to notice. It's called the Data Use and Access Bill. And if you don't understand what's coming, you're in for a very big shock. So let's explain this in simple terms, because I'm not some high-end lawyer who sits reading through hundreds of pages of government legal jargon just for the fun of it. No, what I do is use AI to rip these documents apart, extract what actually matters, and expose what's buried inside. Because let's be completely honest, who has time to decode 270 pages of legal jargon? And when you strip away the fluff, this bill is one hell of a power grab. But what does the bill actually do? Because this isn't about protecting your data or making life easier. This is about total control over digital identity, financial transactions, and online access. And it expands government control over data access. It introduces centralized digital verification, fingerprints, face scans, and iris scans, and it lets them go back years and retrieve past transactions, purchases, and digital history. And it aligns perfectly with EU digital identity laws. Because we left the EU, right? We weren't automatically subjected to their data control laws that they're pushing on the other 27 countries. So what's the UK government doing? Copying them anyway. But we were supposed to be free of EU overreach, but instead, our own government is aligning us with Brussels under a UK branded version. And you won't hear a word about this in mainstream media until it's passed through. So let's talk about how far this bill goes. Let's break it down section by section. First up, we've got data access expansion. They're going back years. This bill doesn't just apply to your future data, it actually gives the government legal access to your historical digital records, purchases, transactions, financial history. They can dig back years into your past. So if you ever thought your old transaction were private and long forgotten, you better start thinking again. Then there's the DVS, the Digital Verification Services. Welcome to mandatory biometrics. The government is building a centralized digital ID system, and it will require facial scans, fingerprints, iris scans, and biometric data for verification. And let's be real, you've been trained for this. You unlock your phone with your face, you use your fingerprint to approve payments, and you ask Alexa for your shopping, your weather, and your news. Well, they now have all of that. The government is formalizing it all into a legal framework in a centralized system. But don't worry, it's not like they're tracking you, right? It's not like they're listening to you, right? Wake up. They're going to have everything you've ever done. And then there's government agencies sharing your data without your consent. This bill actually allows all public bodies to freely exchange your personal data. That includes the HMRC, the Home Office, the NHS, financial regulators, and even private corporations. Your data will no longer be restricted between departments. The government will have full centralized access to everything. Then there's big tech and government coordinating control. The bill creates government corporate data hubs that will control who gets access to what. If you're not part of the system, you're locked out. Then there's international data sharing. Your data can be sold overseas. This bill allows your data to be transferred to foreign governments and corporations. And this means your private records could now be accessed abroad. Then we have the next one, financial surveillance, banking control under consumer protection, because the FCA, the Financial Conduct Authority, gets expanded power to monitor your financial activity. So expect tighter restrictions on bank accounts, credit, loans and transactions. And businesses will be forced to comply. A levy system means businesses will have to pay for compliance. Non-compliance, fines, penalties and restrictions. This isn't just a UK thing, it's an EU blueprint. This is straight out of the EU's digital control playbook. Then we'll have EU digital identity regulation, the EU DI, because the EU is creating a centralized digital identity wallet for all citizens. Governments will store and control personal and biometric data, and you'll need it to access services. And that brings us on to the Data Governance Act. The EU is expanding data sharing laws between governments and corporations. Sound familiar? It should, because our government is copying it word for word. But they said it's about making life easier. Of course they did. Just like they said, I don't know, lockdowns were temporary. Digital currency was just a conspiracy theory. Vaccine passports were never going to happen. And 15-minute cities are just a convenience. And yet, here we are. But the next thing you're going to ask is, what can you do? Well, first up, I've been showing you the bill. You can read it. Don't take my word for it. See what's in there for yourself. Contact your MP. Ask them if they support handing more of your data to the government. And share this video, because once this system is in place, there is no opting out. So I would like, share, comment, because this needs to be seen before it's too late. And if I was you, I'd wake up now. Go to the Parliamentary Bills webpage, search data, and you will see the bill at the top of the list. Whether you do or not, that's up to you. Wake up.